Continuation, where the question went next. After sitting with the first reflection, something unexpected happened. The framework itself became the next calibration object. I wasn't merely reading The Grey Path anymore. I was watching myself respond to it. The podcast, the narration, the conversations, and the journals became a stable mirror. The words stayed the same while my responses continued to evolve. I realized the calibration wasn't limited to songs or isolated experiences. Anything sufficiently stable could become a reference point against which the observer could notice their own change. That realization clarified another distinction. The Grey Path is not attempting to eliminate the weaver. For a long time, I believed that my tendency toward pattern recognition and symbolic thinking was something that needed to be restrained or even surgically removed. But the conversations revealed that the problem was never the weaver itself. The problem was asking the weaver to carry a responsibility it was never designed to carry. The weaver is not reality. The weaver proposes possibilities. Its role is not to declare what is true, but to generate candidate explanations that can later be examined through observation, evidence, and reality contact. It changed everything. Creativity no longer needed to compete with discipline. Imagination no longer threatened evidence. Instead, they became partners with clearly defined responsibilities. The rat records. The weaver imagines. The steward governs. The latch commits provisionally. Reality remains the final authority. Another question emerged naturally from this structure. How do spirituality and evidence coexist? The answer was not to collapse one into the other, nor was it to reject either. Instead, experience began separating itself into layers. An event could first be described as observation. Its biological mechanisms could be explored through neuroscience and psychology. Its personal meaning could be explored through philosophy or spirituality. Its mystery could remain mystery without demanding immediate resolution. Each layer could exist honestly without pretending to be another. This became one of the quiet strengths of the framework. Nothing needed to be inflated. Nothing needed to be denied. Everything simply needed to be accurately classified. As the architecture matured, another realization surfaced. The Grey Path was never simply an epistemology. It was quietly becoming a relational discipline. The same habits that improve reasoning also improve relationships. Observation before accusation. Interpretation held provisionally. Humility before certainty. Revision before defensiveness. The realization that two things can be true at once became more than an intellectual principle. I can reject a person's behavior while still recognizing their humanity. I can establish firm boundaries without abandoning compassion. I can love someone without requiring my present interpretation of them to remain permanently correct. Those same principles began reflecting inward. The unconditional compassion I struggled to offer myself gradually expanded outward toward others, not because harmful behavior became acceptable, but because humanity became distinguishable from behavior. That distinction brought an unexpected form of peace. Perhaps the deepest realization arrived almost quietly. The original question had been, how do I stop fooling myself? That is no longer the central question. The Grey Path has slowly transformed that fear into something more constructive. The new question is, how do I build a system that remains willing to notice when it has become mistaken? That is a profoundly different orientation. One seeks certainty. The other seeks corrigibility. One defends conclusions. The other protects revision. Perhaps that is the true purpose of the framework. Not to guarantee correct answers, but to make honest correction possible. Phase 2 now begins. The architecture is no longer emerging from scattered experiences. It is becoming organized, documented, and transmissible. The challenge is no longer building the framework. The challenge is translating it. Can someone with a completely different history, different beliefs, different wounds, and different hopes use these same principles to improve their own relationship with reality? If they can, then the Grey Path has become something larger than autobiography. It has become a methodology, and perhaps that is the final lesson this chapter offered. The goal was never to preserve my story. The goal was to build a process that allows anyone to observe more carefully, imagine more freely, govern more honestly, and revise more courageously. The names may change. The symbols may evolve. The calibration objects will certainly change. But the discipline remains. Observe, separate, generate, test, revise, walk. And when the next wobble comes, as it inevitably will, the invitation remains exactly the same. Try the latch, then write down what actually happened.